Sup guys, welcome back to the Dreadscar Rift. This is going to be the second video looking at Affliction Warlocks and what their changes are in World of Warcraft Legion. In the first video we looked at the change removed and new abilities for Affliction Warlock, as well as the artifact weapon that is for an Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft Legion. You can see it on my back right there, which is pretty cool, the big scythe. In this video we'll be looking at the PvP and PvE talents. However, before I get into the talents, I need to clarify something from the last video that will hopefully explain something I was kind of confused about. And it is a small little line, small little sentence inside Unstable Affliction that I missed when comparing back and forth different spells and abilities and what would be changing. And there were a lot of changes to Unstable Affliction, such as, it now costs a soul shard instead of mana, and it no longer will last 14 seconds long and instead lasts 7.5 seconds long. So there were a lot of changes. However, I missed the really important one, which explains some of the questions and irritation that I had with soul shard generation and just having an absurd amount of soul shards, and soul shards not meaning much in World of Warcraft Legion. And it is this one little line that says multiple casts accumulate increased damage. So even that, the wording on that is a little bit sketchy. Multiple casts accumulate increased damage. Okay? So basically what that means is I have five soul shards right now. I'm going to spam 4 of them on this target real quickly. And we're going to take a look at the damage increase. It is now 63,000 shadow damage per tick for this actual attack here on this Rebellious Imp. I'm going to switch to another target, and I'm going to go ahead and attack it with a normal Unstable Affliction. It's now dealing 31,000 damage, as opposed to the 63,000 damage it was doing earlier. So you can pile up multiple afflictions and it'll stack in damage pretty quickly, which is an important part of how the new playstyle is going to be in World of Warcraft Legion. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the PvE talent tree for an Affliction Warlock. If I can even pick up the right talent tree here. Alright, here we go. So, first talent here we have right here is Haunt. Basically, Haunt has changed a little bit. It no longer has that damage increase on it. But it's still basically Haunt. It'll deal damage, and if the target dies within 15 seconds, Haunt's cooldown is reset. So, Haunt is still Haunt. I do not believe much has changed. As you can see right there, you haunt the target, etc. It's like having another dot. That's basically what it is, and it's your level 15 tier. Your second option is going to be Writhen Agony. Agony's damage may now ramp up twice as high. So we'll go ahead and use Agony right here. And as I told you, the little number next to the imp here that you can see indicates its damage indicator and how high it's ramping up. And so we're at 6 now, 7. And I'll go ahead and apply it again, so that we can see it's actually past 10. Before it would not pass 10, now it actually will. And as long as you keep it applied, and I'll keep applying to get this thing up quicker, it'll stay at that 20 stacks and deal maximum damage at all times. So that'll be some increased damage that you can have out of Agony. The last option here is Drain Soul, another crowd favorite. Basically, it will replace your Drain Life. So you no longer have access to your Drain Life. However, it will heal you for more than the normal Drain Life does. And it will generate 1 Soul Shard if the target dies during this effect. So I'll go ahead and use this here, and you'll see good old Drain Soul. They kept the spell visual that they worked hard on still there. But you get the heal out of it now that's a little bit stronger and so forth. So that's pretty cool. In the second tier, we have Contagion. Unstable Affliction also increases all damage you deal to the target by 15%. So this is basically stealing off of Haunt. It basically just applies it to your Unstable Affliction now. So I don't know how popular this will be because Unstable Affliction has that only like 7.4 second duration. But you know, it's a possibility in terms of you know, maybe you'll have to see what the theory crafters come up on with and what is the best damage for them. The second option here is Absolute Corruption. Corruption is now permanent and deals 25% increased damage. Duration is reduced to 60 seconds against players. Having a 60-second dot on a player is going to be frustrating because it can't get you out of combat, which is pretty awesome in PvP. So that's something to think about. But with Absolute Corruption here, it's just permanent. And so now it just sits here. I don't have to ever worry about refreshing Corruption ever again. All I have to do is focus on, if you choose Writhe and Agony, and then this, all I have to do is focus on, you know, spamming my Unstable Afflictions and then Drain Lifing the whole way. I mean, that's basically what you're going to be doing from here on out, is Unstable Affliction, Drain Life, and making sure Agony is up at all times. That's all you have to worry about. So that is definitely an option for you to take. The third option here is going to be Mana Tap. It consumes 30% of your current mana to grant 10% increased damage for 20 seconds. So remember, you have Life Tap, so you can Mana Tap, Life Tap. I mean, if you want to look at it this way, Life Tap, if I can find the icon here, restores 30% of your maximum mana at the cost of 10% of your maximum health. So basically, if you use Life Tap and Mana Tap, you are sacrificing 10% of your health for 10% increased damage. Just throwing that out there. In the 45 tier, we have Demon Skin. Your Soul Leech Absorption now passively recharges at a rate of 1% per maximum health every 1 second, and may now absorb up to 20% of your maximum health. So let's go ahead and just take a look at that new ability, because that is a new, it has an old name, but it's a new ability for the most part. I mean, the old Soul Leech was basically Drain, Soul, and Haunt, grant you and your pet shadowy shields that absorb a certain amount of damage dealt for 15 seconds. So it essentially is the same. They're a little bit changing in the wording here. This is all single target damage. Before it was just Drain. It was Drain, Soul, and Haunt. Sorry. Now it's all of your damage. But this will up it to 20% of your maximum health. And this will passively build up now, instead of having to, you know, kind of worry on your damage output to build this shield up, if you choose Demon Skin. Second option here is Mortal Coil. This functions exactly the way the 30 tier does in your live client talent tree. Still works the same. Howl of Terror. This once again works just like 30 tier of live client. Still works exactly the same. Cooldowns are the same on both of them as well. In the 60 tier, we have Siphon Life. Siphons the target's life essence, dealing 87,000 damage over 15 seconds, and healing you for 100% of the damage it deals. I'm not quite sure why I keep... Oh, Corruptions. Oh my goodness, I didn't even think about this. Corruption now is like permanently preventing me from getting out of combat here. This is pretty crazy. Hopefully I can get out of range so that I can actually... Okay, there we go. That was, I did not think about that. And I think there's a bug there, because Corruption is just like, I ain't dropping off of this guy right here. So that's kind of funny. But let's grab Siphon Life right here, and we will use it on this target here, just so you can see. There's your Siphon Life. So you basically have a dot you can use. Siphoning 17,000 life to the caster over 15 seconds and healing you for 100% of the damage it dealt. I can't remember. I could have sworn this was a talent back in the old Affliction, old talent tree. So I could be wrong. I could be right. But if it is, it's back now. So that's pretty cool. There's Sow the Seeds. Seeds of Corruption will now consume a soul shard, if available, and embed a demon seed in 4 additional nearby targets. So let's see if we can get out of combat here. I think it's just gonna be random now. This literally, I should have never attempted to do this, because now it's just cutting me in and out of combat at all times. So let's go ahead and use this here. It should consume it now, and it just launches it now. So instead of having to wait for it to explode to kind of spread across, you now have seeds on 3 targets, and then they all explode, dealing corruption to everyone. So that's actually pretty cool. You're literally sowing the seeds. Your next option here is Soul Harvest. Um, you increase the damage of increases your damage and your pet's damage by 20%. Lasts 10 seconds. Increased by 2 seconds, not 10 seconds. 2 seconds for each target afflicted by your agony, up to a maximum of 30 seconds. You can have it last, I believe, 40 seconds. Depending on how many targets have your agony. And agony, I believe, cannot be applied in any other way other than actually manually putting it on every single target. So that is something to pay attention to. And thankfully, finally, that corruption went off that target right there. Thankfully. So, with that, let's move to the 75 tier. Now, Burning Rush, essentially the same. Fame! No, it is essentially the same. Still functions the way it is. I cannot reduce you below 100% new movement speed. Everything is the same there. Dark Pact used to be called Sacrificial Pact. Otherwise, you're looking at the same ability here. 1 minute cooldown, 1 minute cooldown, the same. Demonic Circle. There's a little change here, and this is actually kind of irritating, and I don't really like it. Other Warlocks may like it, I don't. Basically, your demonic, it doesn't give you Demonic Circle and Demonic Teleport. It transforms your Demonic Circle ability into Demonic Teleport, okay? And this sits here for 6 minutes, so technically it all functions the same as it used to, okay? However, if you want to, put a new one up, what you have to do is it's in a buff in your top right hand corner. You have to actually cancel the Demonic Circle up top, where the buff is in the top right hand corner here, for you to be able to summon a new Demonic Circle. That to me is irritating. I liked it much better when there was Demonic Circle Summon, Demonic Circle Teleport, and they've now just kind of fused into one ability. I don't, why mess with something that's not broken? I don't know, but that's what they've done. In the 90 tier, Grimoire of Supremacy has taken the same spot as, well, it's basically taken over Demonic Servitude. So the old Grimoire of Supremacy is gone, and instead you have this one, which allows you to indefinitely control your your Doom Guard or your Infernal as a permanent pet. You have Grimoire of Service, which is essentially the same, except for it deals 100% increased damage. That's something I didn't have before. And then there is Grimoire of Sacrifice, which its essence stays the same, but it's kind of like it's a little bit like Soul Leech in that it's changed a little bit. The restrictions are off it a little bit. Sacrifice your demon to gain demonic power, causing your spells to sometimes deal 22,000 shadow damage to the target and other enemies within 8 yards. Lasts 1 hour until you summon a demon. The way it used to be was sacrifice your demon to gain one of its abilities and to increase your damage done by your Drain Soul, Haunt, or Drain Life by 25%. So, just like, Soul Leech now applies to everything, Grimoire of Sacrifice now applies to all your damaging abilities, and it's a little bit different. So, that brings us to the level 100 talent tree here. Here we have Soul Conduit. Every soul shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. I personally like this option. And that's partially because I'm not really a big fan of the other two. But this is something that's different here. There's Soul Effigy. Creates a Soul Effigy bound to the target, which is attackable only by you. 35% of all damage taken by the effigy is duplicated on the original target. Limit 1 lasts 10 minutes. So basically this allows you this is starting to once again get above my head. Once again, I apologize. Rogues and Warlocks are not my thing. But as you see, I have a Soul Effigy here, and basically I believe this means that you can now put dots on the target, and then at the same time put dots on this target, and be dealing double damage through that. And you're basically trying to keep your dots up on both targets, make sure that they're functioning on both targets to deal damage both ways. Personally, this is not something that I'm not a big fan of, but this is something, it's an interesting play style for PvE. I think PvEers will like something like this. This will be something that will be interesting for single target fights. This will be something that they're not disappointed in. It gives them more stuff to do, especially if you're going to go Writhe in Agony, Absolute Corruption, this becomes extremely viable. If you're going more the Haunt route, where you're trying to like actually like have just a fuller rotation on your single target, this will probably not be something that you want to do. But if you do something like Writhe and Agony and Absolute Corruption, this could be extremely powerful. If you decide to do that and you have the ability to constantly switch off targets like that, which is pretty cool. The last option here is Phantom Singularity. Places a Phantom Singularity above the target, which consumes the life of all enemies within 25 yards, dealing 129,000 damage over 15 seconds, healing you for 30% of the damage done. So let's just go ahead and use this here so you can see. I'm going to use it right there, and there it is on the target, dealing the damage. And for some reason my soul effigy has not left, even though I no longer have the talent. So, there it is. It is almost done now. And there's the end of it. So, 1 minute cooldown. Basically deals damage over time and heals you for it. It's an option. I would see PvPers possibly taking Phantom Singularity. I very much doubt they're taking Soul Effigy, to be honest. I think that's going to be a PvP option mainly only. Soul Conduit could be something that PvPers take, though, if they want to really burst on some unstable afflictions really quickly on the target. That is something that they could take. So, something to consider there between the two. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the PvP talents for an Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft Legion. I cannot believe the Soul Effigy is still here. Can't kill it, get rid of it, that's fine. As long as it doesn't kick me out of combat, even though I can't use these right now. So, the way PvP is going to work in World of Warcraft Legion is you will start at level 1, you will level all the way up to 50, and as you level all the way up to 50, you will gain these talents, starting with the Gladiator's Medallion, moving down to Amplify Afflictions, and then starting back up with Adaptation, Rot and Decay, and Relentless down to Soul Swap. Gladiator's Medallion you get at level 1, you will have your first row of talents by level 10, and then 13 you will start with Adaptation, and your final one will be Soul Swap at level 46. At level 50 you can decide to Prestige, start all over again, get a nice mount or something, and start back at level 1 with Gladiator's Medallion, work your way up from there. It is entirely up to you. With that being said, whew, mouthful. Let's go ahead and look at the first tier. This is always going to go over your Honorable Medallion. Your Honorable Medallion is kind of like an heirloom trinket that you will get immediately upon entering a battleground. You can choose Gladiator's Medallion here to replace that Honorable Medallion and basically bring it down to a 2-minute cooldown. So that is an option there. There's Adaptation, which is all loss of control effects for the duration of 5 seconds or more will activate your Honorable Medallion spell, but only causes it to incur a 60-second cooldown. I like this, especially more for melee DPS, but for range DPS I think it could be good as well. Do know that you do not lose your Honorable Medallion, so you can still use it. However, it will incur Adaptation to incur a 3-minute cooldown as opposed to a 60-second cooldown. The last option here is Relentless. Duration of incoming crowd control effects reduced by 25%. It replaces your Honorable Medallion. I honestly don't see this being taken just because unless you can, like, I can see this being taken by tanks, Resto Druids maybe, but unless you can really mitigate damage, by yourself, this honestly I don't think would be the most popular talent. The next tier is basically dealing with all range DPS. You have Train of Thought, damage increased by 15%. Being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. Bind Quickness increases haste by 6%. This is probably the best option considering you can build up those unstable affliction stacks really quickly. And then there's Initiation, critical strike of your damaging abilities and attacks increased by 30% on all targets above 80% health. In the third tier, we have the return of curses. We haven't seen these since Cataclysm, maybe? So it's pretty cool to see our curses back. We have Curse of Tongues. Forces the target to speak in demonic, increasing the casting time for all spells by 30% for 10 seconds. So it's really cool. One thing these PvP talent trees are kind of bringing back is the old talents that Blizzard got rid of. They're like, you guys don't need this anymore and so forth. You guys really shouldn't be using this. And they're bringing them back, which is really a lot of fun. So Curse of Tongues is back. We have Curse of Weakness also making a comeback. 20-second cooldown reduces the target's physical damage dealt by 25% for 10 seconds. I believe that's a lot more potent than what the old Curse of Weakness is now, but they have to do that to put it on par with Curse of Tongues. And then we have this new one here, Curse of Fragility. It reduces the target's maximum health by 20% for 10 seconds. So, it's kind of like, okay, what am I having the most trouble with? You know, if you're having trouble with like maybe a Resto Druid, which by the way you can switch talents before you enter a match, which is it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if that's the way it's gonna be rated, um, but you can like check out the enemy team. You're like, oh, he's got a Resto Druid. Probably should go with something like Curse of Fragility instead of Curse of Tongues, mostly because Druids got so many instant cast heals. But you'll be able to like size them up and be like, okay, which one do I want to take for this type of round, which is pretty cool. In the 4th tier, we have Essence Drain. Whenever you heal yourself with Drain Life, the enemy target deals 10% reduced damage to you for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. I've seen this used against me in PvP. It's not fun. It's really powerful. So 6 times, that's 60% reduction. I don't know. I mean, 50% reduction. You know, whenever you heal yourself with Drain Life, the enemy target deals 10% reduced damage to you for 6 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. I mean, you can really... I'm not quite sure if this continually refreshes, so you like constantly have 50% reduced damage, but this seems just like incredibly overpowered, and it's something that they would nerf. That would require you, every time someone starts using Drain Life, you have to literally get out of range of them and then move into combat again, which would be really frustrating when facing off against an Affliction Warlock. There's Casting Circle. Summons a Casting Circle for 20 seconds. While within the Casting Circle, you are immune to silences and interrupts. That's pretty awesome. 15-second cooldown, Casting Circle. So basically, you're able to just sit in there and wail away, which kind of works for an Affliction Warlock because basically the fact that you can heal so well with Drain Life is you're the most potent. It's the old school Warlock, okay? You basically didn't have to move so much. You were able to sit there, put your dots up, use Drain Life and Fear. And this makes it just even better, okay? This makes you even more potent. So this is a really good tier right here. Nether Ward surrounds the caster with a shield that lasts for 5 seconds, reflecting all harmful spells cast at you. So if you're having trouble with some if you're having trouble with casters specifically, Nether Ward is what you would take. In the 5th tier, we have Endless Affliction. Increases the duration of Unstable Affliction by 4 seconds. Could be useful. I'm not quite so sure, but it could be useful in PvP. I'm not sure how that affects the damage. I'm sure the damage just continues to accumulate damage over time. And it also allows you to stack more Unstable Afflictions up, which basically translates into more burst damage. So that's something to think about. We have Soul Burn here. Consumes a Soul Shard, increasing the duration of your next Unstable Affliction by 10 seconds. Lasts 10 seconds. So Soul Burn is back, but completely different. It's basically, it's just a damage boost for your Unstable Affliction here. I don't know whether this will be better or just stacking Unstable Afflictions would be better. That's something that's something tells me that Endless Affliction would be better than this. Soul Siphon, when you have Unstable Affliction active on 2 or more targets, you can generate 1 Soul Shard every 3 seconds. So this allows you to just spread Unstable Affliction everywhere, which is pretty cool. And Unstable Affliction being as powerful it is, you would want something like that. So options here. You have options with Unstable Affliction in this tier. In the 6th tier, we have Amplify Afflictions. Reduces the global cooldown of your Curse, Agony, Corruption, and Unstable Afflictions. Curses, Agony, Corruption, and Unstable Affliction by 0.5 seconds. That's pretty awesome. That allows you to get them off real quick. There's Rotten Decay. Your Drain Life refreshes the duration of Unstable Affliction, Corruption, and Agony on the target. That's really strong. Being able to just constantly toggle on, Drain Life. If you have Essence Drain on top of that, it's really strong. I love the options that they're giving to you for an Affliction Warlock in PvP. The last option is Soul Swap. Inhales your damage over time to selects from the target, preserving their duration. Your next use of Soul Swap within 10 seconds will exhale the damage over time effects on a new target and deal 8% of the target's total health and shadow damage. Essentially, how it works on live. I'm not sure about the actual cooldowns and so forth, uh, damage, etc. I don't know if it still did 8% of the target's total health and shadow damage, but you have Soul Swap back as a talent. So some of the abilities you lost as baseline abilities as an Affliction Warlock come back in your PvP talent tree. However, in my opinion, I'd look more for things like Rotten Decay and maybe Soul Siphon and Essence Drain. I mean, that looks like something that could be more entertaining than taking Soul Swap and Soul Burn. So a lot of options here. I really do like it. I'm not the best at Affliction Warlock or Warlocks in general, so I apologize for not catching on the unstable Affliction in the last video, and I will put a note in that video saying that I'm addressing it in this video and so forth. But I believe in terms of PvP, Affliction is going to be fine. I do believe that we are moving back to an old Wrath of the Lich King Burning Crusade style Affliction Warlock, in which you are able to tank damage just by the sheer fact of drain life and fears and so forth. So that's really cool. If you really like that style of Warlock, it is back. But with all of the great stuff that you've gotten in your PvP talent tree, do know that there's a lot of other casters out there that have also gotten some great stuff in their PvP talent trees. So take note of that. Otherwise, that's everything for an Affliction Warlock in World of Warcraft of Legion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I personally, I don't want to say liked the old style of Warlock, Affliction Warlock, because I always hated facing them. So maybe if I was an Affliction Warlock as my main, I probably would really like the direction they're going. But that's entirely up to the people who play these classes on a constant basis. I'm just trying to get you guys the info as best I can, and so that's pretty much everything for Affliction Warlock. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. From the Dreadscar Rift, this is Tearless, and I'll see you guys later.